SpongeBob SquarePants, one of the most iconic television shows of all time. With this show existing for a long time, a lot of theories have been made along its way. Users Pen and Hex Studios, Silent Shadowbox 52, and Menite have created the supreme SpongeBob Iceberg. And in today's video, I, Ludus Spook, will go through all the 29 entries at the bottom of this iceberg. If you want to see more videos like these, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Without further ado, let's dive into the bottom of the iceberg. Mr. Enter attacks the writers. The mysterious Mr. Enter is a YouTuber who makes videos of animated shows and movies. He reviews a lot of these and have been for a few years, which is impressive. However, there was one time Mr. Enter attacked the writers in the video. There isn't anything special about it, just him throwing slurs at the writers of the show because of a moral they did at the end of one of their episodes. I'm not gonna show the video here since it's not worth spending a whole minute of Mr. Enter being mad at the SpongeBob writers. The cast members are drug addicts. In a 5 Dark SpongeBob Theory article, theory number 3 is written about how the cast members of the show are on drugs. Their reasoning for this is, and I quote, SpongeBob acts like he's tripping acid most of the time, while Squidward could be a heroin addict for how down and depressing he is. They continue talking about how Mr. Krabs and Mr. Puff are heavy cocaine users because of them acting paranoid, and that Patrick fits perfectly as a stoner. None of this seems to make sense to me, and we can basically at that point say someone like Jim Carrey is on something because of how his character acts. I don't know. What do you think? Patchy is mentally insane. In an episode, Patchy the Pirate can be found launching himself out of a whale, landing in fancy studios, where he passes out and dreams about being outside SpongeBob's house. He knocks on SpongeBob's door just to faint when SpongeBob opens it. This could mean that Patchy is mentally insane, or just a part of his character. Steven Hillenburg's worst nightmare. Steven Hillenburg, the creator of the show, was on a New York Times interview where he starts talking about his biggest nightmare. I quote, "My biggest nightmare is that I'm going to be at a beach one day and one of these dolls is going to wash up on the shore like garbage." According to Sherm Cohen, one of the crew members of the show, said, being a marine biologist who also serves, Steven doesn't want to be responsible for bringing a glut of garbage into the world. I have no idea what both Steven and Sherm meant. My guess is that Steven is afraid he would influence others to throw trash in the ocean. I'm not sure why. Hope this at least answered your question. Alternate timelines theory. Someone whom I unfortunately couldn't find who made it. If you know who did it, feel free to tell me in the comments. Someone made a 7-page Google presentation, first page being blank, about alternate timelines in the SpongeBob universe. According to this person, SB129, one of the episodes in the show, is canon to every universe, otherwise jellyfishing does not exist. Patrick and Squidward are born to different parents in one universe than the others, meaning there are 2 Patricks and 2 Squidwards. There are a lot of interesting stuff in here. I will link it in the description, but the thing that interested me the most is this image right here, displaying the timeline. Go ahead and pause and read if you're interested. Apparently this timeline was never finished, with the last page of the presentation only showing original timeline part 2 and nothing else. Naked Sandy original design. I think this one is actually pretty known. Sandy, one of the characters, has an original design which is really disturbing. The Sandy we see in the show is actually a suit or a fur coat, with Sandy looking like this without it on. Yeah. This all happens in the episode Someone's in the Kitchen with Sandy, which I can say myself is a pretty disturbing title. r/SpongeBobGore. r/SpongeBobGore is what it sounds like. A subreddit on Reddit where people upload really poorly made gore images of the SpongeBob characters. Most people on the subreddit are just weird people uploading these images, and it all just looks like one of those 3 AM videos we used to watch when we were younger. Squidward's dad abused him. I looked heavily into this, but I found nothing. One thing I found was a YouTube video called Squidward's Father Beat Him, which is just scenes from SpongeBob till we see Squidward in a coffin screaming. This is not even linked to the title, so I guess this entry remains unknown. Everywhere at the end of Bikini Bottom. If you've been on the internet for some time, you're probably aware of the Everywhere at the End of Time. Luckily I was already aware of this since I was really into this a few years ago. Everywhere at the End of Time is an album created by musician Leyland Kirby, or as we know him, The Caretaker. As you listen to the album, you go through a total of 6 stages. In stage 1, you hear music from the hearing of someone with stage 1 dementia, until it gets progressively worse, and you cannot hear music and just ambience. This inspired many others to make their own versions of Everywhere at the End of Time, and this is where Everywhere at the End of Bikini Bottom comes in. User by the name of Flash Club uploaded this album he had made with the same format as Everywhere at the End of Time, this one containing SpongeBob songs instead. You should definitely give Everywhere at the End of Time a listen if you haven't, and Everywhere at the End of Bikini Bottom too. Squid Baby is fetish general. Squid Baby is an episode of SpongeBob. A user of Tuyet Mai uploaded a video of him narrating over this episode. It's actually really good and I recommend watching it. In the episodes, Squidward's head inflates after hitting his head and he needs to get to the hospital. The doctor tells Patrick and SpongeBob that they have to take care of Squidward. They go on and treating Squidward like he was an actual baby, but he's an adult. I think we know what this topic is pointing at. SpongeBob will outlast us all. I didn't find much of this, except for a deleted Reddit user who posted something on the fan theories subreddit. The post title was, "All the characters in Bikini Bottom are immortal." He noticed a few things that I will go over. First is SpongeBob saying that he will receive the manager position at Krusty Krab 2 because he has gotten 374 consecutive Employee of the Month awards. According to the user, this means that SpongeBob has worked there for 31 years and 2 months. Though SpongeBob does not get the manager position, Squidward gets it on the grounds that he's just a kid. Squidward had worked there for 3 decades. This is one of the few things this user talked about. Dabbing Squidward fired for being too powerful. I think we all seen the Vine where a group of teenagers try to get a Squidward mascot to dab in some sort of parade. The guy in the Squidward costume dabs and it becomes one of the most famous Vines of all time. I couldn't find anything about the guy in the costume getting fired since it's all is fake, and I guess people just try to, make it sound a little funny. The Brazilian defecation broadcast. Okay, this might be the most weird one on here. Basically, there was a lost episode of SpongeBob that had a Portuguese dub. In the episode, Squidward was playing the clarinet, and the note he played in the dub was what's called the brown note. The brown note is a note or pitch that when heard, people will simultaneously, yes, get ready, shit their pants. This caused over 200 plus children to do, you know what, that. This episode was only played once and only in Brazil. Shanghai's vote was rigged. Apparently, people could vote in Shanghai for either SpongeBob's, Patrick's, or Squidward's endings. To start off, Nickelodeon counted all of these votes in 4 minutes, which seems impossible. The first loser was Patrick, the second loser was Squidward, and of course, SpongeBob won. Many people believed that this was rigged, basically. SpongeBob SquarePants is real footage. This is one of these where I basically didn't find much, but what I did find was a lot of articles talking about Marines found real life SpongeBob and Patrick. These marine researchers recorded a video of a sponge and a starfish laying right next to each other underwater. Could this be a coincidence or actually SpongeBob and Patrick? I think it's only a coincidence, but we'll never know. SpongeBob SNL sketch with former presidents. On a SNL sketch, SpongeBob appears as a cheerleader of the US. As he's doing this, a stereotypical terrorist starts dancing where SpongeBob says, "Get rid of unintelligible man." I couldn't hear what he said, but the comments speculate that SpongeBob was being racist. Patchy is SpongeBob. Unfortunately, I found nothing on this topic at all. This kinda means that it's an unlikely theory overall, and it's fake, so it doesn't really matter. Larry's Vengeance.mp4. As I tried to find anything related to this, a Reddit user by the name of AwkwardAd3769 was the only one who had an answer for this, which was that it was only a joke entry, and I found nothing else. SpongeBob is in the Yakuza. Again, as it is fake, I found almost nothing on this except for a video on the Yakuza game subreddit of Patrick and SpongeBob in some sort of fighting tournament. Cartoon killer Bob Espana. An Instagram user by the name of Mexopolice uploaded this image on Instagram. It is a pretty cool poster of SpongeBob surrounded by Spanish text and blood on his hands, where it says, above him, Cartoon Killer. Overall, I think this poster is pretty cool, and one of the comments even said that Nick liked the post. Hair error in Fools in April. Fools in April was an April Fool's episode of SpongeBob where we see this image of Squidward strangling himself and this hair close up to his elbow. Some say it was a grain from the film as they did not switch to digital yet, but they actually had already switched to digital. The answer we got was it was a cel animated and tiny bit of hair got caught up in the frame. Every copy of Super Sponge is personalized. A YouTube user by the name of SpecularBark45 uploaded a Super Mario 64 styled creepy animation of SpongeBob getting chased by Squidward in a corridor with creepy images of Squidward on the walls. I actually liked this animation since it was pretty unique and funny to me, and remains as my favorite entry on this list. Musical Nick Up Front demo. Apparently, someone on Twitter or X by the name of J9Poggy uploaded this image of a potential SpongeBob Broadway musical. There is really nothing much more to it. I'll Hug You and Kill You. Nicktoons Attack of the Toy Bots is a video game sequel to Nicktoons Unite. In the game, there are these toy packages that when you flip them upside down, a text is shown. For safety, that YouTube doesn't try to take my video down, you can read this text on the screen yourself, and I don't want to make YouTube think that I'm some sort of crazy person. SpongeBob in Chabahar. SpongeBob in Chabahar is a movie from 2018 which is basically about what the title says. It is a really poorly made movie with SpongeBob, Patrick and Mr. Krabs being human in costumes. You can find the movie on YouTube if you want to watch it. Krabby Quest. Krabby Quest was a game developed by Midnight Synergy. In the game you have to collect all the Krabby Patties to complete the level. It was available to download at the Big Fish game site at that time. Episode 5572 220. There are a lot of different things said about episode 5572 220. Some say it is the production code of an episode called Ugh, or SpongeBob Meets the Strangler. What it most likely was that episode production code was skipped over and people took that as a sort of lost episode about Red Mist, Squidward and others. Credits theme, Unnerving Feeling. This one I think all of us know. The iconic ending theme of SpongeBob. This would play at the end of every episode and apparently people thought this was unnerving. A user by the name of 7, 8, 9 and 10 made a lot of interesting points on why it was so unnerving. I will list a few here. According to 7, 8, 9 and 10, the rhythm guitar part is constantly bending each note out of tune in a wobbly vibrato. Lots of notes going out of tune in each direction can feel strange or wrong. This also gives a feeling as though the chord is not resolved. This is not the home bass chord, this is not the tonic. This can feel like it should go somewhere else and stop lingering here, and yet it lingers. Personally, I always thought it was a normal ending theme and didn't see the reasoning for it being creepy at all. Behind Closed Doors. This last one is really disgusting. When I found out what this was about, my jaw was on the floor. I've looked into the whole book of drawings and I will talk to you about it now. This is the cover of what is a book of drawings with the title of Behind Closed Doors, saying, horrible, filthy, vile, disgusting, inappropriate, off-model drawings by the crew of a popular cartoon show. These drawings contains the SpongeBob characters engaging in It is so disgusting to look at this drawing, knowing apparently the crew members of the show made this. Notified that what I said this book of drawings contain is one of the things that they have drawn in here. It's not only what I've listed, it's more. Thank you for watching today's video. I hope you liked this and hopefully I didn't forget anything important. And if I did, feel free to type it in the comments. I will keep making these type of videos and subscribe if you want to be notified when I upload them. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.